Hello?
Welcome.
This is Friends of the Two Cities.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Hi everyone, welcome to Tales of Two Cities. My name is Ellie, and I have to apologize that I was at a wedding, which is the reason why we had such a delayed response with our episode. But thankfully, Nikki covered for me by offering an episode about Bodhi. This week, we are doing an episode on hotels. So, Nikki, how about you explore our minds?
Sure, I can start. So despite extensive internet research, because the archives are currently closed for summer, I couldn't find any information on haunted hotels in Eugene. Eugene has tons of other haunted buildings, but hotels seem to be safe, at least as far as the internet goes. So I expanded the geographic reach to include the state of Oregon, and I found some interesting things in Portland, on the coast, and then in southern and eastern Oregon. And I'm going to start by separating them out into regions to make it less confusing. The Oregon Cave Chateau in Cave Junction is inhabited by Elizabeth, and Elizabeth haunts room 310. But Elizabeth, who jumped to her death after finding her newlywed husband cheating with a maid, leaves 310 when someone checks in and bothers other guests. So rather than a traditional ghost, she, instead of staying in the room to bother them, is like bothered by them being in the room, so leaves to bother other people. And she walks the halls and opens and closes doors randomly. And then at the Wolf Creek Inn, which was built in 1883, there were a lot of celebrities that used to go there, like Clark Gable and Jack London. So some of
I have a Clark Gable too. That's fun.
So Clark Gable and Jack London were some of the celebrities that were there, and some have even seen a ghostly figure resembling Jack London, who reportedly finished Valley of the Moon while staying at Wolf Creek. He's been seen there since his death in 1916, but London's not alone. There's also a ghost called One-Eyed Charlotte, who was a stagecoach driver who died there, but is also seen currently at the hotel, even though she died years ago. One traveler even mentioned being attacked by a vampire-esque creature. So Southern Oregon seems a little bit creepy for my taste. But PDX, Portland, also has tons of stuff. The Benson Hotel is reportedly haunted by a few ghosts, most prominently the namesake of the building. Benson, who is pro-prohibition, is often noted as the cause of visitors' drinks being knocked over. He's seen in meeting rooms and around the hotel, and others have reported a young boy and a woman in a turquoise dress roaming the halls. The Heathman Hotel opened in Portland in 1927. Paranormal occurrences are reported by guests staying in a few rooms. People report cold spots, unexplained sounds, faces appearing in shadows, and furniture that moves on its own. Outside of Portland, in Forest Grove, the McMenamins Grand Lodge is known as one of the most haunted places in Oregon. Staff and guests have reported seeing a woman with white hair, slippers, and a patterned dress, which match a portrait of a woman hanging in the hotel. One explanation says the woman Anna, who lived there for many years, died just before turning 100. Eastern Oregon, the Hot Lake Hotel is in La Grande and was originally built in the 19th century. It was then converted to a hospital, but was, and this is a big surprise, we've talked about it in every episode, say it with me people, destroyed in a fire. Surprise, surprise. Yet again, something was destroyed in a fire.
I feel like we should change our podcast to something was destroyed in a fire.
Fires all the time. Fire, fire, fire. It was rebuilt and converted by then owner Dr. William Thomas Pye into a more chilling asylum. So this place went from a hotel to being burned down to an asylum. It was called the Hot Lake Sanatorium before being closed for what seemed like good in 1991 until it reopened after a renovation in 2003. Guests report seeing ghosts and strange clouds of fog that appear suddenly. Others hear voices of patients and guests. And a piano that was owned by Robert E. Lee's wife is also known to play on its own.
Oh.
Creepy.
Yeah.
So then we have the Geiser Grand Hotel, and it's been rumored to be so haunted that the owner, Barbara Sidway, told the Oregonian, quote, "There are some workers who will not go to the third floor after midnight. Lights blink on and off, and visitors hear late-night parties and laughter that aren't coming from guests." Geyser Grand is located in Baker City. The building's architecture is described as Renaissance Revival, with a 4-story clock tower and a pointed roof. I'm going to post pictures of this on the website and our Instagram page for you all to see. The hotel was originally opened in 1889 and has been restored to its glory with woodwork on its grand staircase, crystal chandeliers, marble floors, and a replica of a stained glass ceiling, as the original didn't make it through the 25 years that the building was abandoned. The hotel was honored with the National Trust for Historic Preservation's Honor Award for Excellence in Historical Preservation. Baker City was settled during the Civil War as Oregon drew in many who were interested in ranching and farming, and later mining when gold was discovered in the area. Railroad development increased the population of Baker City, and it became known as the Queen City of the Mines because of its quality buildings of brick and volcanic tuff. It was a place to spend money on alcohol, women, and luxury. The economic increase brought many high-class folks with money looking for a comfortable place to stay. Mine investors and owners gave the Geiser Grand Hotel the reputation as the finest hotel between Portland and Salt Lake City, which I feel like nowadays is like whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
But back then it was a big deal. This reputation brought old money to town too. Cattle ranchers, politicians, and world travelers visited the hotel, and loyalty was built between the wealth and the hotel. This reputation brought old money to town too. Cattle ranchers, politicians, and world travelers visited the hotel, and loyalty was built between the wealth and the hotel. So much so that prostitution services offered remained discreet. The basement, known as the Wine Cellar, has a...
I have a lot of prostitutes in mine too.
Oh my god, yay!
Oh my god, we're like twins.
Oh my god!
Yeah, prostitutes in Clark Gable.
That's the new name of the podcast, everybody.
Yeah.
Fire, prostitution in Clark Gable. The basement, known as the Wine Cellar, has a large window-like passageway that allowed men to sneak to meet the women without the judgmental eyes of moral society peering in on them. The deed was done on the third floor in comfort, and the brothel remained open through Prohibition into the 1940s. After mining played out in 1910, the hotel remained well visited. The alcohol, even during Prohibition, along with gambling and a brothel, kept the hotel popular through many years of economic instability. Though, during World War II, it was transformed into a veterans hospital, as many hotels were for wounded soldiers. The hotel reopened post-World War II, but was in need of repair and lost its luster. By 1968, the hotel structure was in need of repair. The financial responsibility proved too much for investors, and after the cast from the film Paint Your Wagon left the establishment, it was boarded up for 25 years. Though a couple with an immense passion for old buildings and hard work, Mr. and Mrs. Dwight Sidway, invested $7 million and 4 years to bring the hotel back to its glory. The Geiser Grand Hotel was reopened in 1998. The restoration, though, may have triggered spirits who loved the original building to return, either frustrated with changes or excited to relive the glory days. In 1997, some apparitions began to roam the property, perhaps needing recognition or out of pure joy that the hotel was being restored. They reported to be playful for the most part. One construction worker was frightened when a dozen apparitions joined him in an elevator.
Oh, that would scare the shit out of me.
Right? I
hate that.
I hate elevators as it is, and I hate being claustrophobic in elevators, and I would be ever more claustrophobic with, ghosts.
Yeah, and especially if it's like one of those things where it's like you get in the elevator and you're like, you close the doors and then like 1,000 like ghosts are in there and you're like, okay. Wait for like five more floors, like, hey, how's it going? What's it like being dead? Like
that's how Ellie would ride elevators with ghosts. What's it like being dead? Just a question. Please don't hurt me.
They'll be like, it sucks.
One story says a chef, frightened by an apparition during the construction on the building, died in an accident. His spirit appears occasionally, but without a visible head. He's known to slam doors, throw pots and pans, and many believe it's because he's frustrated by his accidental death.
I would be too.
His most impressive feat was lifting a crate of glasses, allowing it to float through the air, and then letting it crash to the floor.
Oh.
Another entity may be a murder victim. The cowboy doesn't seem to be angry, but lingers near the Geiser Grand. He was shot in the hotel, likely in the early days, at a gambling table. The perpetrator was caught, tried, and convicted, becoming Baker City's first murder conviction. Though his girlfriend, the cowboy, is said to have killed herself because of the death. She, too, lingers. She's known as the Lady in Blue. She's described as being dressed in 1930s clothing in a violet dress and is referred to as friendly. She's floated above the grand staircase in front of startled guests. Another apparition appears from the waist up, dressed in a red corset and a hat with a peacock feather. She's seen on the balcony looking over the second floor banister, people watching. Other hauntings include a man who waits for guests to go to sleep only for them to be awoken by the shower being turned on and sounds of splashing as if he's bathing. And room 302 is a hotbed of activity, the room of former owner Maybelle Geiser. She likes to admire guest jewelry, touching it or moving it. When she's hungry, she's known to take a complimentary snacks for guests, and she will occasionally knock on walls. She's also known to pinch anybody who sits at her seat at the bar.
Oh, okay.
So that leads me to the coast. We've been all over Oregon. Now we're on the coast. The coast isn't free of paranormal encounters. The Argonauta Inn Beach House in Cannon Beach is haunted by the ghost of Genghis Hansel, which I think is a very interesting name, who was a guest who disappeared one night while staying at the hotel. Okay, just outside of Florence, Oregon, the Heceta Head Lighthouse Bed and Breakfast has many ghostly tales, including that of the Gray Lady and a small girl. The land, once known as the Devil's Elbow State Park, was originally land used by Siuslaw Indians to hunt sea lions and gather seabird eggs. The lighthouse was built to warn ships of the approaching danger of the jagged cliffs. The lighthouse, which is 56 feet high, shines a light that can be seen over 20 nautical miles, making it the strongest one along the Oregon coast. The lighthouse is named for the Spanish explorer Don Bruno de Heceta, who explored the Oregon coast in the late 18th century. The lighthouse was constructed in 1892 and first lit 2 years later. The lighthouse needed 3 lightkeepers. The first head lightkeeper, Andrew Hald, shared duties with 2 assistants. The family shared homes near the lighthouse, 1 home for the head lightkeeper and a condo for the 2 assistants. The light shone for 61 years before a rock slide severed wires to the light. Oswald Alec climbed to the top of the tower and manually turned the lens, holding post for more than 7 hours until morning light made the shore visible when this happened. The lighthouse was automated in 1963, switching from using oil, and was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1978. At this time, several of the buildings were torn down, including the headkeeper's home, and most recently it was closed in 2011 for extensive restorations on the remaining buildings. So, I've been to Heceta Head Lighthouse, and there's an open space where the condo, which is like a duplex that mirrors itself, so both sides are exactly the same, still stands, but the head lightkeeper's house was torn down and the wood was used to actually build stuff out in Florence. So they broke it down and sold the wood off. So the original lighthouse is new buildings now. So the main ghost at Heceta is not associated with the lighthouse, but the keeper's home. So a ghost, which was formerly known as Gray Lady, which is now often known as Rue, after an encounter with her through a Ouija board, and she spelled out R-U-E. There's some discrepancy on whether or not this is the same ghost, but they often do different things, and I'll talk about that in a second. Rue is believed to be connected to the grave of a baby, which is on site, and no one knows how the baby dies for sure, but the grave is real, and most believe that Rue was the mother of the child. In another iteration of the story, Rue was the mother of the daughter who wandered off the cliffs to her death or drowned at a local pond. So some people think we have no idea how the girl died. Some people think that she drowned either by falling off the cliffs or in a pond. And she was buried on the grounds. And I've heard this from volunteers at Heceta Head, which is cool. There's like a hill behind the lighthouse where her grave is. And in her grief, her mother killed herself. So as far back as the 1950s, people have recorded strange happenings. Noise and moving objects are common. A woman is occasionally heard screaming in the middle of the night, and some believe that those screams are that of the mother when she discovered her child was dead. Rue is known to make strange noises and rattle dishes in kitchen cupboards, and she also locks doors and leaves some standing wide open. The Gray Lady is known to float around the house. She appears frequently when the house is being renovated. In one such instance in the 1970s, she appeared in solid form to a man painting the attic. He came face to face with the Gray Lady and fled. He'd broken an attic window as he left, but refused to re-enter the attic to clean the glass. He fixed the window from outside, and that night the owners heard scraping noises in the attic. The next morning, they found glass swept into a pile. The Gray Lady has not been proven to be the same entity as Rue, but many believe that they could be one and the same. Rue is known to move things like dishes, while the Gray Lady appears in a gray mist that floats above the ground through the house. And over 100 sightings have occurred at Heceta Head. This bed and breakfast can offer more than a comfy bed and a 5-star multi-course meal, so you might just see a ghost.
Oh my god. And they're not sponsoring us.
They are not, but if Heceta Head would like to.
Yeah, we won't object. Like, we definitely won't object, guys. Okay, so for me, I had about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hotels that have some form of haunting or paranormal activity. And so mine are pretty intense. Like, I have a pretty intense story to tell. Yeah, but I have it set in an order of least interesting to most interesting. So Yeah, I think that was a good sort of organization. I went to college. So I'm just gonna like list them off, okay? So the first one is the Georgian, and that was built in 1933, and it's considered one of the tallest in the town, that town being Santa Monica. It had guests like Carol Lombard, Clark Gable, Charlie Chaplin, Fatty Arbuckle, and big-name gangsters like Bugsy Siegel and Al Capone. Supposedly, Carol Lombard and Clark Gable started their courting at that hotel. They were both previously married, so they started courting each other and then got together right afterwards. In the 1960s, the building was converted into apartments. However, in the 1990s, it returned to hotel form. Now, here's the weirdness that's connected to it. 1. A guest claims to have checked into their room, put their stuff down, jumped into the shower. When they came out, the television was on, the bed was open, and their suitcase was empty. Another one was that one of the...
So wait, the ghost unpacked for them?
Basically, the ghost unpacked for them and just like took their clothes, right? One of the overnight officers tells a story about getting a telephone call from a guest room that was not occupied, and all he heard was giggling. That is literally like the most frightening thing. Imagine if you got a call at like 2 a.m. and all you hear is like ee, ee, ee.
A story that we have to put in this episode at the end.
What? Okay, about how you got...
It was a fucking Motel 6. It was scary and shady as shit, and I need to tell the story, and I just remembered.
All right, we'll save it for the end, people.
End it with it, because it's really fucking good.
I like that. So then, and the last one, many times when the restaurant connected to the hotel is completely empty, employees have heard loud sighs, gasps, and have been startled by a disembodied voice who greets them with, "Good morning." Yeah, no. All right, the next hotel is Hotel Figueroa. The hotel was originally a YMCA from the 1920s with a Moroccan decor. The hotel is currently undergoing renovation and is set to reopen this fall. This is the weirdness, though, connected to it. It is known for its flickering lights as well as televisions that go on and off, similar to the Georgian. But in its history, which, according to the LA Weekly, includes 2 murders and a suicide. One of the murder victims was Cecilia Oswald. According to the week, she was killed in April of 1950. Her naked body was discovered in one of the hotel rooms after her partner confessed, "I killed her. I killed her because I loved her."
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, God, some people ask for cards, others ask for murder. Another hotel is the Alexandria Hotel. It opened in February 12th of 1906 as an 8-room hotel, but had a 12-story addition added in 1911. It was considered a really fancy hotel and had guests like President William Howard Taft, Theodore Roosevelt, and Woodrow Wilson. Supposedly Rudolph Valentino, Theda Barbara, Mary Pickford, and Charlie Chaplin were also guests at that hotel. And one of the developers died in 1950 when he went down with the ocean liner, the RMS Lusitania, or how do you say it?
Lusitania?
Yeah, that one. Isn't that kind of crazy?
I think that's how you say it.
Yeah, that's the one he went down on. And then another developer died shortly after. It was sold in 1919 to the people that built the Ambassador Hotel, and the Alexandria was considered to be part of the Ambassador system. In the 1930s, it went bankrupt and closed. However, it opened again in the 1960s and was renovated into an apartment. And in the 1970s, it was declared a historical monument. So that's the history about that. But here's the weirdness. The ballroom of the second floor is supposedly haunted by a handful of dancers. There is an angry teenager in Charlie Chaplin's old suite. And Valentino supposedly haunts the 12th floor, which the manager of the apartment affirms, saying a famous person died there. So, what do you think about that?
I don't want don't go there. That's what I think about that.
Another place, or another hotel is the Chateau Marmont, which is a very famous hotel. We all know about it. The hotel was built in 1929 by architect William Douglas Lee. It was modeled after the Chateau d'Ambroise. It's French. Stand by. It is Amboise. Me either. We don't know French.
Listeners, if you know French, please tell us how the hell to pronounce this.
Yeah, because the Chateau d'Amboise is a royal retreat in France. So, someone clarify what we're supposed to do.
Help!
Help us! Help us! It was originally designed to be an apartment building, but it became a hotel in the 1930s. In the 1970s, it became a monument of Los Angeles, and it's basically still a major destination for celebrities. John Belushi, this is the weirdness associated with it. John Belushi overdosed in 1982 in Bungalow 3. According to the Travel Channel, in 1999, a family stayed in Bungalow 3, and the parents noted that they would hear their toddler laughing alone. Once they asked him why, he responded, "The funny man." Then, when his mother was leafing through a book of celebrity guests at Chateau Marmont, the little boy pointed to John Belushi and exclaimed, "The funny man." So
That's creepy.
yeah, right? The next one is the Millennium Biltmore Hotel, or what I thought it was called originally, the Biltmore Hotel. And originally named the Los Angeles Biltmore Hotel, and originally was noted to be the largest hotel west of Chicago in 1923. Also, it opened in 1923, and it cost almost $9 million. Like, isn't that insane? All the other hotels I'm talking about cost $2 million or so.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's insane. From 1935 to 1939, the Biltmore hosted the Academy Awards. During World War II, it was also a safe space for soldiers. So if soldiers were stationed in Los Angeles, they could go there, have fun, get a drink, dance with some girls, blah, 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 right? The Biltmore's exterior was based on Spanish-Italian Renaissance revival, Mediterranean revival, and art styles. It was meant as an homage to the Castilian heritage of Los Angeles. So, yeah, I just butchered all of those revival styles, and I don't really know what they are, so if any listener is an architect, please help us out, right? Please help us out. Yeah, pretty much, if anyone notes that we did anything wrong, please help us. This part's quoted from Wikipedia, which I know is not the best source to quote from, but whatever. Each ballroom on the Galleria level is themed after the room's original function or the hotel's overall California heritage premise. For example, the Emerald Room was once the hotel's main guest dining room. Its decor features images of hunt and harvest with hand-painted animals and fish on the cast plaster ceiling beams. The Tiffany Room was formerly an open corridor used to drop off point for crystal ballroom functions. Now enclosed, the elegant space centers around exploration with relief sculptures and panels depicting Queen Isabella I of Castile and Christopher Columbus and other Spanish New World explorers. The split-level Gold Room, once a dining room for elite guests, features Prohibition-era hidden liqueur compartments and panels along the ceiling for press photographers to take pictures of the event below. It is decorated with a gold-class plaster ceiling, hand-oiled wood paneling, and 9 mirrored windows along 3 sides. The South Galleria is painted with floral... this is a word... Nikki, this is your time to shine. Friezes?
I think it's friezes.
Friezes? Inspired Okay, so
I don't know.
the South Gallery is painted with floral friezes inspired by the decor of ancient Roman Pompeii and features a vaulted ceiling, marble balustrades, and heavy Roman piers. Gold-painted wrought iron gates open the staircase leading down to the Biltmore Bowl. Also of interest is the hotel's health club and indoor pool, which was modeled after the decks of the 1920s luxury ocean liners. Solid brass trim on windows, doors, and railings, teak wood desk chairs, and hand-laid Italian mosaic tiles on the walls and in the pool are original. It is also known to be the last place where the Black Dahlia was seen alive.
Dun dun dun!
Yeah, so there's a lot of debate behind that, and once I get to the next hotel, there's the last hotel that I'm going to talk about is another place that claims that the Black Dahlia was last seen alive there. However, I've heard the Biltmore, and a lot of credited sources state that it was the Biltmore, so I'm kind of just on the Biltmore side right now.
Okay.
In 1969, it became a historical monument. So here's the weirdness, right? And it's so fucking short compared to how much information is behind this hotel. For example, the first weird thing is that there's a nurse ghost on the second floor. I tried to get more information on that, couldn't find anything. The second thing, there's a creepy girl ghost on the 9th floor. No information on that. A boy with no face on the roof. Don't know why. Also, supposedly, Elizabeth Short's ghost has been seen on the 10th and 11th floors, but also in the lobby. So there's just a lot of ghosts on every single floor. But the one thing I should put into note is that I had my prom there. So that was fun.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, my prom was there. It was called A Night at Versailles. I dressed up like Marie Antoinette because I went to an all-girls school and I didn't feel like I needed to impress anyone. The next one, which is actually my favorite one of all time, I know the last one I saved for, it was cool, but this one's really cool, is the Knickerbocker Hotel. The Knickerbocker Hotel was designed by architect E.M. Fraser in June 1929. It was designed in the Spanish colonial revival style, which was a popular theme for Los Angeles. It is known to be a famous Hollywood celebrity hotel with guests, not ghosts, just guests, with guests like Marilyn Monroe, Joe DiMaggio, Laurel and Hardy, and William Fraley, and other people. In the 1960s, the hotel became a haven for prostitutes and drug addicts, and in the 1970s, it became a senior citizen home. It is still a senior citizen home, but it's only for mostly for Russian people. So here's the weirdness. There's a lot more weird things connected to this than anything else. Supposedly, Marilyn Monroe's ghost haunts the bathroom of the old restaurant/bar. However, I find that a lot of places in Hollywood and LA claim that Marilyn Monroe's ghost haunts them. Right? It's just the standard, hey, tourist, come to our place. Marilyn Monroe's ghost is here. In 1962, costume designer Irene Lentz committed suicide by jumping off her 11th floor room window. Some sources say that her body landed on the marquee and wasn't found until several days later. On July 23rd, 1948, filmmaker D.W. Griffith died of a cerebral brain hemorrhage after being discovered unconscious in the lobby of the hotel. William Frawley died of a heart attack March 3rd, 1966 at the hotel as well. And Frances Farmer is also known for being dragged out of this hotel kicking and screaming after failing her probation thing. There's a great episode on Frances Farmer by the podcast You Must Remember This, where Karina Longworth fully goes through the lore and myths of this actress. I highly recommend it. It's amazing. So, on Halloween in 1936, Harry Houdini's wife had a seance for Houdini on top of the roof of the Knickerbocker Hotel. When previously talking about death, Houdini promised his wife that he would contact her if it were possible to do so from beyond the grave. And this is the situation here. I've read conflicting reports that a mysterious thunderstorm suddenly appeared out of nowhere, or that they had a code word between them and somehow the code word showed and it was magical. But then I've also read reports that said nothing happened. So I really have no idea what happened, basically. I like to think that the big thunderstorm happened with, like, the response, it being like, you know, he's like, I love you, Jenny. I forgot her name, but let's just pretend it's Jenny. So, down the street from the Knickerbocker Hotel is the Hollywood Roosevelt. The hotel was built in 1926 and is named after the 26th President Theodore Roosevelt. It was financed by a group that included Louis B. Mayer, Mary Pickford, Douglas Fairbanks, and Sid Grauman. It cost $2.5 million and it opened its doors in 1927. In the 1950s, it became a dilapidated mess and was gutted and painted a seafoam green color. However, in the 1980s, it was restored to its original beauty. In 1991, it became a historical monument. It was home to the first Academy Awards on May 16, 1929, inside the Blossom Ballroom. Marilyn Monroe lived at the hotel for 2 years early in her career and posed for her first commercial photography shoot by the rooftop pool. Montgomery Clift also stayed at the hotel for 3 months in 1952 during the filming of From Here to Eternity. Errol Flynn is rumored to have created his recipe for bootleg gin in a tub of the hotel's barbershop, and Shirley Temple learned to do her famous stair-step dance routine on the hotel stairs. Other notable hotel guests include Charlie Chaplin, Clark Gable, Max Baer Sr., Carol Lombard, Mary Martin, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Ernest Hemingway, and Prince. Right? So here's the weird bits. People have seen a little girl dressed in blue named Caroline. There is a mirror in the lobby where people would take pictures and claim they would see Marilyn Monroe's reflection above them. This can make sense since the mirror was actually part of her room and she has stayed in the hotel for a while. On the 9th floor, you can hear the late actor Montgomery Clift, who was in the suite 928 for 3 months while filming From Here to Eternity, practicing on his trumpet. Guests have asked the hotel staff to tell the person in the next room to stop playing in the middle of the night. So I'm gonna adjust my seat really quickly because my butt is hurting, and then I'm at my last bit, girl. I gotta let you guys all know we're doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it well. Now we're at the legendary Cecil Hotel. Yes. Built in 1927, the Cecil was designed to be a budget hotel for business travelers and tourists. It was built in an Art Deco style to the designs of Lloyd Lester Smith, and it cost a whopping $1 million to make. The building was boasted to have a magnificent marble lobby lined with stained glass windows, palm trees, and alabaster sculptures. It was built with the idea that it would be a great investment. Several hotels were being built along the streets, and Los Angeles in general was becoming a big metropolitan area. It seemingly looked like a really great investment. However, 5 years later came the Great Depression. The street the hotel is on, which is Main Street, eventually turned into Skid Row, and so by the 1950s, the hotel became known as a dwelling for the questionable. It was bought in 2007 and went through several image renewals and name changes. It eventually became Stay on Main. In 2017, it got a historic status from the city of Los Angeles. The Cecil Hotel was also the inspiration for American Horror Story Hotel. However, what makes the Cecil Hotel so famous is the dark history behind it. So there's a lot of murder and suicide, and I'm gonna list everything, so get your popcorn, guys. On November 19th, 1931, James Willis of Chicago was probably the first person to commit suicide by taking a number of poison capsules. A year later, Benjamin Doddridge, 25, was found shot in the head. There was no suicide note. In July 1934, 53-year-old Louis D. Borden slashed his throat with a razor in his room. His note mentioned ill health. March 1937, Grace E. Marco fell from the 9th-story window. It is unsure if she jumped, had an accident, or was pushed. Basically, telephone wiring broke her fall, and she was suspended from that telephone wire, but she later died in the hospital. In January 1938, Roy Thompson, 35, jumped from the top floor of the hotel, and his body was found at the skylight of the building next door. In May 1939, Edwin C. Neblett, 39, took poison as well as Dorothy Schuyler, 45, a year later. She, however, was found to be near death. I don't know if she survived. September of 1944, Dorothy Jean Purcell, 19, threw her newborn son out the fucking window.
Oh.
Yeah, she supposedly was unaware that she was pregnant and delivered the baby in the fucking bathroom after a night with her partner Ben Levine, 38. Supposedly, she thought the child had died and just figured to throw it out the fucking window. Like, she was like, whatever, win some, you lose some, and threw it out the fucking window. Right?
You're not even supposed to throw trash out the window. Like, you're treating a baby worse than trash.
Yeah, that's bullshit. Oh my God. The body of the baby was found at the adjacent building. She was found not guilty by reason of insanity. Like, Jesus Christ. November of 1947, Robert Smith jumped from the hotel's 7th floor and died. October 22nd, 1954, Helen Gurney also jumped from the 7th floor and landed on the hotel's marquee. February 11th, 1962, Julia Frances Moore, 50, jumped from the 8th floor of the room and landed on the interior light well. She left no note but had a bank note of a balance of $1,800. On October 12th, 1962, Pauline Otten, 27, got into a fight with her husband, Dewey, and jumped from her window while Dewey was having dinner. This is the worst bit. Oh my God. She landed on Georgian, 65, and they were both killed instantly.
So she landed on someone and killed them.
Yeah, basically, for all those that are contemplating suicide, first off, seek help. But second, this is the shit you go through. Like, this is a perfect example that if you commit suicide, right, you bring others with you. And she literally brought someone with her. She literally, killed someone by committing suicide. On June 4th, 1964, quote, Pigeon Goldie, end quote, Osgood, was found dead in her room. She had been stabbed, strangled, and raped. No one was ever arrested for her murder. Supposedly, the Cecil Hotel is the last place where the Black Dahlia Elizabeth Short was seen alive. However, this is greatly disputed, and I don't actually agree with this at all. I feel like it's the Biltmore. And if I did a special episode on the Black Dahlia, I would explain my reasons why. It's just too long. Yeah, okay, we might do a special episode.
Let us know if you want a special episode of the Black Dahlia or if it's been done and you don't care.
I agree. Let us know. It was also the residence for serial killers Richard Ramirez in 1985 and Jack Unterweger in 1991. On June 13th, 2015, the LA Times reported that the body of a 28-year-old male was found dead outside of the hotel. His cause of death was not known. And last, you ready, Nikki?
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready?
Terrified, but I'm ready.
All right, this is some messed up shit, and this blows my fucking mind all the time. Literally, I could go on a deep dive on this one topic. On February 19th, 2013, Elisa Lamb was found in the water tank. Okay, so I'm gonna go on the Elisa Lamb for just a quick second. I could literally deep dive this shit. On February 19th, 2013, the naked body of the 21-year-old Elisa Lamb was found in the water supply tanks of the hotel roof. Lamb had gone missing 3 weeks prior, and the reason she was discovered was due to the complaints from the hotel guests on how the water tasted funny. Ugh, so creepy. Authorities have ruled her death as an accidental drowning. However, this is the most interesting. The next two things are the most interesting part about her death. There's video surveillance of her acting really weird in the elevator. If I'm able to make a recording of it, I'll put it on our Instagram as well. Because the thing is, that video surveillance makes people convinced of a lot of things. One of the things is that they were convinced that she was possessed by the devil or possessed in some sort of way. The reason why is that if you look at her hands, they move erratically and they shape in this certain situation, or they move in a way where you can't. It's hard to move that naturally. Another set of people are convinced that she played the elevator game. Do you know the elevator game?
Push all the buttons.
That's it.
You push all the buttons, right?
Well, the elevator game is that it's like this possession. It's like a demon sort of game, like a demon ritual game. And you're supposed to press numbers in a certain manner, and it's supposed to take you into a parallel universe.
Oh, okay. I've never heard of that.
And there's like this one rule that once you get to like the 5th floor, a woman's supposed to enter, and you're not supposed to talk to her. Right? And if you do, then something weird would happen. Well, a lot of people are convinced that Elisa Lamb was playing the elevator game and like fucked up, and that she got possessed because of it.
Got it.
However, this is another thing. This is a discrepancy against those claims. However, she did have bipolar disorder and supposedly had either gotten new medication or had gotten off her medication. So there's just the issue about that. I mean, I don't have bipolar disorder, so I can't explain anything about it, but I don't know. I feel like a logical, suggestion as well. However, this is the part that's going to scare you the most. Are you ready?
Oh boy, no.
Even though she died in February, she has a blog. And her last post was in December of that year.
So 10 months later.
10 months later. Yeah.
Did she have a queue of stuff? What was the post about?
It's like a basic Tumblr post it's a photo of, actually it's quite, if you think about it analytically, it's a snow globe, right? It's like she's trapped in a world. Like she's trapped in a glass world.
That's weird.
And it's the same environment for the rest of her life.
But you can also queue things on Tumblr.
How?
You can set posts to be posted without you posting them. I said post too many times.
I've never heard of that. Well, I don't know. I've never done that.
So that they will post at a particular time so that you don't have to, if you always want to produce content, you don't have to.
But the funny thing about it is that she has it was like a fashion blog. She had photos.
So it doesn't make sense that would post.
And literally that post is just some random photo. It's like a GIF of basically this snow globe.
Weird. Very weird.
Is it GIF or GIF?
I say GIF.
Okay, it's a GIF of some random snow globe. So, I don't know. It's very interesting, I think. So the thing is in all of these hotels, I plan on having a weekend just bender of taking photos of the hotels. So it will be on our Instagram as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. So.
Should I tell my story now?
Yes, I want to hear it.
Like, I'm not going to say where specifically we were staying. I don't want to get sued.
Oh.
And I probably won't mention the actual place, like the name of the place.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Okay, so I'm pulling it up. Okay, so I just got back from a very long road trip, including a stop to Bodie, California, which, if you've listened to our last mini episode, is a really cool place to be. So you'll see pictures and content on our website and our Instagram from that. But I also had a very interesting experience in a motel, which I thought fit perfectly with our topic this week. And just to be perfectly clear, we had decided we were doing hotels for the next episode before this happened to me. So I think it's very strange that this is my experience.
Yeah.
I am a grad student that is very poor.
Story of my life.
Help me, I'm poor.
Kristen Wiig, please watch. Please listen to our podcasts and appreciate that we love you.
Yeah.
So we were camping mostly on this road trip, but there was a couple of times where, and mind you, we did 6,000 miles in 11 days, visited 9 national parks and 7 states. So it was a lot of driving, and there was a few days where we had decided that we weren't going to camp because we wanted to press forward and get closer to the next day's destination. And this was one of those cases where we had decided that we were going to push on and try to get a little bit closer to where we were going to be the next day. And we were driving through Utah into Nevada to get to California. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to name the specific place that we stayed because I don't want anyone from this particular place to be offended. And I'm not going to name the exact chain of motel that we were going to stay at. So I was exhausted. We had been driving all day. Most days I was driving between 12 and 16 hours. So it was really, really exhausting. And we wanted to find some place that wasn't quite Reno, because Reno, if you are familiar with American geography, is on the western side of Nevada, and we were coming from Utah, which is on the eastern side. So we didn't really quite want to drive across the entire state of Nevada. So we found a place that was in between where we currently were and Reno, and we were like, let's just stop at this place. Sounds good. It's like another hour and a half. Let's do it. So we went online and made a reservation, and it went through without a problem. We'd stayed at this chain a couple of times on the trip already, and we get off the freeway, and immediately I noticed a graveyard across the street, and I was like, I'm gonna hope that this isn't a problem. So I'm just gonna read what my adventure buddy had posted on Facebook for you guys, and then I'll talk about my side of the story. So we get there, it looks sketchy, but we're tired, and we go check in. There's a dude behind the counter. Dude. Okay, so we have smoking rooms or non-smoking without air conditioning. Which do you want? Me. Your website said nothing about that. Dude. Well, the internet's been down for 4 days because of the wildfire on I-80, which there was a wildfire. We saw it with our eyes. Me. Really? Then how did you get our reservation? Dude. Fax machine. Looks over his shoulder at said fax machine. Me. Well, I don't find either of those options acceptable. Dude. Well, we can transfer you to Reno. At this point, I turn to Adventure Buddy, who is me, and I'm like, what do you want to do? Long story short, we decide to stay. Dude says, okay, wait, I'm just going to cancel this room because it's late and they haven't called. It's non-smoking and has air conditioning. Us. Awesome. Thank you. And this should have been a red flag because he put us in this room. He chose this room to cancel the reservation for. We're super pumped about it, though, because a bed and a shower and air conditioning. And here's the thing. There's something that looks an awful lot like a blood stain on the floor. Like, you can see the splatter and the puddle. Not just a dark mark, but like splatter and puddle. There are gnats everywhere.
No.
Killing them, and the door is closed, and we can't find a source for the gnats. We kill them, and there's more still. They're multiplying.
No.
Old spunk stain on the sheets and moth holes in the duvet cover.
Oh, I would be out.
Bug in the shower, and the toilet was disgusting.
Oh my God.
And there are gnats in the bed.
Gross.
All this I can somewhat deal with. Not happily, but I can overlook a lot for a bed and air conditioning. But then I go to use the bathroom, and I'm doing my business. I'm looking around, and then I look up. Huge mistake. There's a crawl space or attic access that is creepy as fuck.
No!
And before y'all think I'm overreacting, it's not painted closed or anything, and it's obviously been opened and can be opened. And there are marks on it from where it's been moved. It's scratched like the thing is moved often. The sense of dread that I have been holding at bay just consumes me at this point, and I feel ill, like physically ill. And all the survival instinct that has been ingrained in me as a woman is like, you need to leave this now. This is how you die, in a motel room in the middle of the Nevada desert on your 2-week wedding anniversary, because my friend had just been married.
Yeah.
Nikki, my adventure buddy, seems to be unaffected, but she's asking me every few minutes if I'm okay. Finally, she's like, are you okay with bugs? Can you stay here? Me, I can deal with the bugs. It's the creepy as fuck attic access. At this point, I've already reasoned that I wasn't going to sleep that night because I was so skeeved out. Nikki, what creepy attic access? I explain. She goes to look at it and comes back out and is now skeeved out. Do you have a feeling? She nods, her head, yep, it's not good. And then, Nikki, by the way, I'm really itchy, but only under my clothing, not my bare skin that can be easily attacked by bugs, but everywhere else. We both look at the bed that she's been laying on. We decide that if we can get our money back, we're going to Reno. I pick up the phone to call the desk, and literally, we've been put in this creepy-ass room where the phone does not work.
Oh, fuck no, fuck no, fuck no, fuck no, 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 no.
It's plugged in, and there's no dial tone. It's like the beginning of a horror movie, no way to call for help. At this point, we're both done. I run down to the lobby and pull some super sweet, highly manipulative Southern card and get us our money back. The interesting thing is that I'm explaining to the nice young man behind the counter, who is different from the first dude, and I'm explaining to him about the bugs everywhere, even in the sheets. And the young man says, oh yeah, we get that a lot about that room. I'm so unamused at this point, but I get us a full refund and we peace out quickly, efficiently, and out with regret. On the way out, we see there's a cemetery across the street. My adrenaline drops. I'm like, holy shit. And this feeling of dread lifts, and I'm flooded with relief, and I'm nauseous. I can feel as though I've evaded a horror movie and that we've dodged a real metaphysical bullet or knife. And then we did some Googling, and a lot of people die there. Like a lot.
At the motel?
Not at the motel.
Oh.
It's the place that we were. It's like known for murders.
Oh, God.
So that was her post, and now I'm going to read what I had posted about it. She had posted this on Facebook, and people started asking questions. So she recounted the story, and then people were like, what did Nikki think? So this is my post. So I'm always a bit hesitant when checking into a motel, and I think it's my own fear of the unknown or uncontrollable that's always made me hyper-aware and concerned about strangers and strange places. Anyway, we walk in to check in, and the man seemed shifty and scattered. At the time, I thought he was busy or overworked. Now I just think he was a little off. After checking in and moving the car, I felt like I was being watched by a group of people who were smoking from the balcony. I immediately thought, are they scoping me out as a target, or do they want to steal my things? And I felt guilty, and I told myself to be less judgmental. We walked into the room, and it felt dirty. I remember telling myself to check my privilege. This is what I could afford, and it's perfectly acceptable. I went to the bathroom immediately. Being on the road for 12 to 16 hours a day really makes you hold it until you can't. Yeah. So I was distracted by my nearly exploding bladder that I didn't even look around. I washed my hands and noticed a dead bug in the shower when I grabbed the towel by the sink. I had joked and told my adventure buddy that I had found the bug because I had told her earlier that day that I'd never found a bug in this particular chain. And that's why I always said I have the locked door and no bugs, so it's fine. I laid down, and for whatever reason, I couldn't motivate myself to shower. Each time we'd come to this particular chain, that was the first thing that I did. But I fell onto the bed and just laid there. I couldn't get myself up. I could sense that she wasn't okay, and I didn't know why. I asked a few times, but she didn't say anything. She was antsy, and it was clear. So I started to feel itchy all over my body, except for my exposed legs. I was wearing shorts, and my legs were fine. It almost felt like there was a static cling on all of my clothed skin. And I was I was concerned and even Googled bed bugs to check. I was attempting to rationalize my fear of strange places and quiet my judgment of people who live differently in a small town in Nevada desert than me. I asked my friend again if she was okay, and she finally admitted that the crawl space in the bathroom was bothering her. I hadn't noticed it. I thought it couldn't be a big deal. I got up and checked it out. When my eyes met the ceiling, it was like my stomach dropped to the floor. It looked sinister. There's no other way to explain it. My mind began to race, and it felt like I was in a glass box. The eyes of the people that had stared at me outside, the man who checked us in, the people walking around as we drove up, it suddenly felt like they or someone was going to come through that crawl space, and I was defenseless.
Oh, God.
I immediately told them I was uncomfortable, and we decided to call the office to see if we could get our money back. She picked up the receiver and admitted she couldn't find the number for the office. I looked at the phone, and there wasn't a home. It's not where I feel comfortable. I always get a wave over me that says this is not safe, and that has a lot to do with being a woman in society, that you're not safe doing things alone. Yeah. And so I peed and I laid on that bed and I felt more exhausted than I was when I walked in the room. And the first thing I did every night was like pull out clean clothes and take a shower anytime we had the opportunity to. But for whatever reason, my body was like, you lay on this bed, you don't go in that bathroom.
Yeah.
And that was also really strange to me. And the more Googling we did, we found out that there was nothing on that particular motel, but there are murders very frequently in that place. A lot of people die. And so it was very terrifying.